Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the greatest power you could ever access is found not in control, but in surrender? That the moment you release your grip on how you think life should be, you open yourself to how God intends it to be. We spend so much time trying to force outcomes, chasing security, and battling the unknown. But true transformation begins when we step out of the way, when we trust the divine intelligence that has been guiding us all along. Tonight, I invite you to surrender, not in weakness, but in faith, to put your life in God's hands and allow His wisdom to shape your path. Because when you do, miracles happen, doors open, and life unfolds in ways greater than you could have ever imagined. Let's begin. Surrender is not giving up, it's giving in to God's plan. Many people misunderstand the concept of surrender, associating it with weakness, passivity, or failure. They believe that to surrender means to quit, to accept defeat, or to relinquish ambition. But in truth, surrender is the most powerful act a person can make because it is the ultimate alignment with divine intelligence. It is the recognition that there is a higher order governing all things and that our attempts to control every outcome only lead to suffering. We are conditioned to believe that we must fight for everything, that success comes only through relentless effort, struggle, and force. Society teaches us to push, to grind, to make things happen according to our will. While discipline and action are important, there's another force at play, one that is greater than our limited understanding. Surrender is not about inaction. It is about inspired action. It is about moving with the current rather than against it. Trusting that when we align with God's plan, doors open that we could never have forced open ourselves. The mind is designed to protect us, to seek certainty and security. It constantly analyzes, predicts, and attempts to control every aspect of our lives. This can be useful in practical matters, but when it comes to the deeper currents of life, the mind often becomes the barrier between us and divine flow. Surrendering means stepping beyond the limitations of the analytical mind and allowing faith to lead. It means accepting that we do not always have the full picture and that there are forces at work orchestrating events in ways we cannot comprehend. When we hold on too tightly to our own expectations, we create resistance. We become attached to specific outcomes, thinking that only one path will lead to success, happiness, or fulfillment. But attachment is rooted in fear. The fear that if things do not go exactly as we planned, we will suffer. In reality, suffering comes from our resistance to what is, not from the events themselves. When we surrender, we release this resistance. We stop trying to force life into a predetermined shape and instead allow it to unfold as it is meant to. People often fear surrender because they believe it means losing control, but control is an illusion. No matter how much we plan, analyze, and strategize, there are always forces beyond our control. Unexpected events, setbacks, changes in circumstances. These are all reminders that we are not the sole architects of our lives. The paradox is that when we stop trying to control everything, we gain true power. We move from a place of trust, knowing that even when things do not go as expected, they are still working for our highest good. Surrender is an act of deep faith. It requires letting go of the need to know every detail, every step, every outcome. It means handing over our burdens to God and trusting that He will lead us where we are meant to go. This does not mean we stop taking action, but rather that our actions come from a place of alignment rather than anxiety. Instead of acting out of fear, we act out of trust. Instead of forcing things, we allow them to flow naturally. When we surrender, we make space for divine intervention. How many times have we tried to force something only to be met with obstacle after obstacle? And yet, when we finally let go, when we stop pushing and striving, suddenly things fall into place effortlessly. This is not coincidence. It is the nature of surrender. It is the universe responding to our trust by aligning circumstances in ways we never could have engineered on our own. Surrender is also about releasing the weight of the past. So many people carry old wounds, regrets, and disappointments, allowing them to shape their present reality. But when we surrender, we release this baggage. We stop holding on to the pain of what was and instead open ourselves to the possibilities of what can be. We trust that whatever has happened was necessary for our growth and that the future holds something even greater. In surrender, there is freedom. Freedom from stress, from worry, from the endless cycle of overthinking and overanalyzing. We shift from a state of survival to a state of creation. Instead of reacting to life, we become active participants in a greater design. We become vessels for God's wisdom, allowing His plan to unfold through us rather than trying to dictate our own limited version of it. The ego resists surrender because it wants control. It wants certainty, validation, and recognition. But the soul knows that surrender is the path to true fulfillment. When we let go of the ego's need to dictate every aspect of our lives, we step into a state of peace. We no longer fight against reality, but move in harmony with it. We begin to see that even the challenges, the delays, and the setbacks are part of a greater plan, one that is leading us exactly where we are meant to be. There is great power in surrender because it shifts us from fear to faith, from resistance to acceptance, from control to trust. It allows us to walk through life with an open heart, knowing that we are guided, protected, and supported at all times. It is in this state of surrender that we find clarity, strength, and the courage to step into the unknown without fear. Control creates resistance, trust creates flow. From the moment we wake up, our minds seek control. We try to control our schedule, our relationships, our emotions, and even the way people perceive us. We hold on to expectations of how things should be, believing that if we plan enough, work hard enough, or force circumstances into alignment, life will go exactly the way we want. But the truth is, the more we try to control, the more resistance we create. The more we grasp onto outcomes, the more life seems to push back. Resistance is born from fear, the fear that if we don't manage every detail, something will go wrong. It is rooted in the belief that we are separate from the divine intelligence that orchestrates everything in perfect timing. When we operate from resistance, we are in a state of stress. We analyze, overthink, and try to manipulate situations to fit our version of what is best. And yet, no matter how much effort we put in, we often find ourselves feeling exhausted, frustrated, and stuck. This is because control is an illusion. It is a self-imposed limitation that blinds us to the greater flow of life. When we resist what is, we block the natural movement of energy. Imagine standing in a river and trying to push against the current. No matter how strong you are, the water will always push back. You will struggle, expend energy, and eventually wear yourself out. This is what happens when we resist life. We resist change. We resist uncertainty. We resist the unexpected. But life is not meant to be forced. It is meant to be flowed with. The river is always moving, and when we trust it, we realize it was never our job to fight against it. Trust is the key to shifting from resistance to flow. Trust does not mean passivity. It does not mean we stop taking action or abandon our desires. Rather, trust is the ability to move forward without fear, knowing that we are being guided. It is understanding that even when things don't go according to our plan, they are still unfolding exactly as they should. Trust allows us to let go of the need to control every step and instead take inspired action, moving in harmony with a higher intelligence that is always working on our behalf. The moment we surrender control, we enter a state of flow. Flow is when things happen effortlessly, when opportunities arise without force, when synchronicities appear, guiding us in ways we never could have predicted. It is that feeling of being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, receiving the right insights. Flow is the evidence that we are aligned with divine order, that we are no longer blocking what is meant for us by holding on to what is not. Resistance creates tension, but trust creates ease. When we trust, we open ourselves to new possibilities that we might not have considered because we were too focused on controlling a single outcome. When we trust, we allow life to unfold in ways greater than we could have ever orchestrated on our own. The mind may resist this idea, wanting certainty, wanting to predict the future, but the soul knows that trust is the only path to true peace. Every time we try to control, we send a message to the universe that we do not trust. We cling to relationships that no longer serve us because we are afraid of being alone. We stay in situations that feel wrong because we fear change. We hesitate to take a leap of faith because we want a guarantee that everything will work out. But trust requires stepping into the unknown with confidence, knowing that what is meant for us will never miss us. Letting go of control does not mean letting go of responsibility. It means shifting from force to flow, from fear to faith, from attachment to allowance. It is about recognizing that life is not happening to us, but for us. When we trust, we stop reacting from a place of anxiety and start responding from a place of wisdom. Instead of resisting change, we embrace it. Instead of fearing uncertainty, we welcome it as part of our growth. The energy we bring to life determines what life reflects back to us. If we move through the world with resistance, tension, and the need to control, we will be met with obstacles, delays, and frustration. But if we move through life with trust, surrender, and a willingness to flow, we will experience opportunities, clarity, and a deep sense of peace. Trusting means allowing God's plan to unfold without trying to rewrite it. It means knowing that we are exactly where we need to be, even when we do not understand why. Control is heavy, trust is light. Control is exhausting, trust is energizing. Control limits what is possible, trust expands our potential. The more we trust, the more life opens up. The more we let go, the more we receive. The more we surrender, the more we are guided toward exactly what is meant for us. Fear keeps you trapped, but faith sets you free. From the moment we wake up, we are faced with choices, decisions that shape our day, our thoughts, and ultimately our destiny. Yet many of these choices are dictated by one of two forces: fear or faith. Fear is the silent controller of the mind, whispering doubts, playing out worst-case scenarios, and keeping us locked in the known. It convinces us that stepping into the unknown is dangerous, that change is risky, that surrendering control is foolish. But faith, on the other hand, operates on a different frequency. It is the unseen force that guides, supports, and aligns us with something greater than ourselves. Fear is a construct of the conditioned mind. From a young age, we are programmed to be cautious, to be wary of failure, to avoid discomfort at all costs. We internalize the idea that control equals safety, that predictability is security, and that anything beyond our comfort zone is a threat. This programming keeps us bound to a limited reality, repeating the same patterns, living the same cycles, and never fully stepping into the unknown where true transformation happens. When we allow fear to take the lead, we live reactively. We make decisions based on worst-case scenarios rather than on possibility. We hold on to relationships, jobs, and situations that no longer serve us because we fear what might happen if we let go. We delay our dreams, convincing ourselves that one day will be the right time, all while life moves forward without us. Fear builds walls around our potential, keeping us small, keeping us safe, but also keeping us from truly living. Faith, however, operates from a different level of consciousness. Faith does not require evidence, validation, or guarantees. It moves beyond logic, beyond the mind's need for certainty, and into the realm of trust. Faith is the energy that allows us to step forward even when we cannot see the entire path. It whispers that we are supported, that we are guided, that there is a divine intelligence at work far greater than our own. When we live from faith, we release the need for control. We understand that control is an illusion, that no matter how much we plan, analyze, or try to manipulate outcomes, life will always unfold according to a greater order. Faith does not mean passivity. It does not mean waiting for things to happen without effort. It means taking inspired action with the knowing that we are co-creating with something far beyond what our limited minds can comprehend. The choice between fear and faith is the choice between limitation and expansion. Fear tells us to stay where we are, to cling to the familiar, to avoid the unknown. Faith invites us to step into new possibilities, to trust the process, to surrender to what is unfolding. Fear makes us question whether we are capable, worthy, or ready. Faith reminds us that we are already enough, that we already have everything we need within us, and that the path will reveal itself as we walk. Every great transformation begins with a moment of faith, a moment where we choose to trust instead of doubt, to act instead of hesitate, to believe instead of question. These moments define the course of our lives. When we surrender to faith, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. We stop resisting change and instead we embrace it. We stop worrying about the details and instead we trust that everything is happening in divine time. We stop operating from fear-based reactions and start moving with an inner confidence that is unshakable. The energy we bring to life determines what life reflects back to us. If we move through the world carrying fear, anxiety, and the need for control, we will see obstacles, struggle, and resistance. But if we move through life with faith, surrender, and an open heart, we will experience ease, synchronicities, and unexpected blessings. Faith does not promise that there will be no challenges, but it assures us that we will be equipped to handle whatever comes our way. There will always be moments when fear tries to creep back in, when doubt whispers in our ear, when uncertainty makes us question everything. But in those moments, we have a choice. We can choose to stay in the prison of fear, or we can choose to step into the limitless space of faith. Faith does not mean that we will never experience fear. It means that we do not let fear control us. It means we acknowledge it, but we do not give it power. It means we recognize its presence, but we move forward anyway. Every breakthrough in life requires a moment of surrender, a moment when we stop trying to control everything and instead trust that we are exactly where we need to be. When we release fear, we free ourselves from limitations. When we embrace faith, we open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that exist beyond our imagination. The mind may resist, but the soul already knows. Freedom is found in faith, not in fear. Letting go of control is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. From the moment we wake up, we seek control. We want to control our circumstances, our relationships, our future. We plan, strategize, and analyze every detail, believing that the more we control, the safer we are. But control is an illusion. The more we try to hold on to it, the more we find ourselves trapped in cycles of anxiety, stress, and resistance. True strength is not found in micromanaging life, but in learning to surrender, in trusting that there is a greater intelligence orchestrating the details far better than we ever could. The need for control stems from the mind's desire for certainty. The brain is wired to predict, to seek patterns, to create a sense of security through logic and structure. When faced with uncertainty, the mind reacts with fear, grasping for anything familiar, even if it no longer serves us. This is why so many people cling to jobs that drain them, relationships that no longer align, and habits that keep them stuck. The fear of the unknown is often more paralyzing than the discomfort of what is known. Yet the greatest transformations occur when we step beyond our need to control, when we loosen our grip on how we think things should be. We open ourselves to what is truly possible. Life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be experienced. The most profound breakthroughs come when we stop resisting and start allowing. When we surrender, we do not give up our power. We align with a higher power. Surrendering does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean sitting back and waiting for life to happen. It means trusting that when we take action, we are guided. It means understanding that not everything will go according to our plans, but everything will unfold in the way that is best for our growth. The need for control comes from fear. Surrender comes from faith. Fear says, what if things don't work out? Faith says, what if they work out better than I imagined? Letting go of control does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means recognizing that our role is to take inspired action while allowing the greater plan to unfold. It means knowing that some doors will close, but only so that better ones can open. It means understanding that setbacks are not failures, but redirections. When we fight against life, we create struggle. When we flow with it, we create ease. There is immense strength in surrender. It takes courage to trust in something greater than yourself. It takes resilience to move forward without guarantees. It takes inner power to release expectations and embrace the present moment. The strongest people are not those who try to control everything, but those who have learned to let go, to adapt, to trust in the unfolding of life. The mind will always seek certainty, but the soul already knows that true peace comes from surrender. The moments we remember most in life are not the ones we meticulously planned, but the ones that surprised us. The moments when we allowed life to flow, when we followed the path without knowing exactly where it would lead. These are the moments of transformation, the moments of divine alignment, the moments when we step beyond our own limitations and into something greater. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that control is exhausting, that forcing outcomes only leads to resistance. It is the realization that when we release the need to control, we gain something even greater. Freedom. Freedom from worry, freedom from fear, freedom from the mental battle of trying to predict and manipulate every detail of life. When we surrender, we shift our energy. We no longer operate from a state of resistance, but from a state of allowing. We begin to see opportunities where we once saw obstacles. We begin to experience synchronicity, signs, and guidance that were always there, but were blocked by our need to control. We begin to live in alignment with a power greater than our own. Surrender does not mean we stop striving. It means we trust the process. It means we show up, we give our best, we take action, but we release the need to force the outcome. It means we plant the seeds and allow them to grow in their own time. It means we embrace the journey without demanding that every step be predictable. The more we try to control, the more we suffer. The more we surrender, the more we experience peace. There is a flow to life, a divine rhythm, an intelligence that is always guiding us. When we surrender, we tap into that flow. We stop pushing against the current and allow ourselves to be carried to where we are meant to be. True strength is found in trust. True freedom is found in surrender. When you surrender, you align with divine timing and everything falls into place effortlessly. Life operates on a rhythm, a natural flow that moves through everything. The seasons change, the tides rise and fall, the sun sets and rises without any force, without resistance. Yet as human beings, we often struggle against this rhythm. We push, we rush, we demand that things happen on our timeline according to our expectations. But the truth is, there is a divine order to everything. The moment we surrender to it, we begin to experience a new level of ease, grace, and alignment that was always available, but previously blocked by our need for control. Divine timing is not something we create, it is something we align with. It is the understanding that everything happens at the right moment, in the right way, for the right purpose. We may not always see the bigger picture, but when we trust that there is a higher intelligence orchestrating the details, we can let go of the stress that comes with impatience and control. When we surrender, we stop forcing things that are not meant for us and start allowing what is truly meant to unfold in its own perfect time. One of the greatest sources of frustration in life comes from the belief that things should be happening faster. We look around and compare our journey to others. We wonder why certain doors have not yet opened, why certain prayers have not yet been answered, why we are still waiting for the breakthrough we long for. But what if the delay is actually divine protection? What if the waiting is part of the preparation? What if things are not happening because we are not yet ready to receive them fully? Surrendering to divine timing requires faith. It requires the deep knowing that if something is meant for you, it will come at the right time and in the right way. No amount of forcing, chasing, or controlling can bring it to you faster. And if something is not meant for you, no amount of effort will make it last. The universe is always working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, preparing you, and ensuring that when things do manifest, they happen in the most effortless and harmonious way. The more we resist divine timing, the more struggle we create. The more we force things before their time, the more obstacles we encounter. But when we surrender, things begin to flow naturally. Opportunities arise in unexpected ways. People enter our lives at the perfect moment. The right doors open effortlessly. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. When we are aligned, we do not have to chase, beg, or we simply prepare ourselves, trust the process, and watch as everything unfolds in ways better than we ever imagined. Letting go of our timeline does not mean giving up on our dreams. It means trusting that they are already in motion, that what is meant for us is making its way to us in perfect time. It means understanding that the delays, the detours, and even the disappointments are all part of a greater plan. Sometimes the things we think we want are not actually aligned with our highest good. Sometimes what we perceive as a setback is actually a setup for something greater. There's a peace that comes when we stop forcing and start allowing. We stop worrying about when and how things will happen. We stop living in a constant state of impatience and frustration. Instead, we trust. We trust that what is meant for us cannot pass us by. We trust that every challenge is preparing us for what is coming. We trust that if something is not happening right now, it is because something better is on the way, or because we are being refined for the blessing we are about to receive. The beauty of divine timing is that when things do happen, they happen effortlessly. The job you once struggled to find suddenly appears. The relationship that seemed impossible comes together with ease. The opportunities you never saw coming show up in ways you could never have planned. This is what happens when we surrender. We stop trying to control everything and we start trusting the process. There is nothing wrong with having goals, with working hard, with taking action, but the key is to take inspired action, not forced action. Inspired action flows naturally. It feels aligned. Expectation, expectedness. It feels aligned. Forced action, on the other hand, comes from desperation, from fear, from the belief that if we do not control everything, nothing will happen. But the opposite is true. The moment we stop trying to force life, life starts working for us. The energy we bring to our journey determines what we experience. If we are constantly in a state of urgency, fear, and impatience, we block the very blessings we are seeking. But when we move through life with trust, peace, and surrender, we make space for miracles to unfold. We open ourselves to receive. We allow things to happen in their perfect time, without resistance, without struggle. Divine timing is always at work. Even in moments of waiting, even in seasons of uncertainty, even when it seems like nothing is happening, things are moving beneath the surface. Every delay has a purpose. Every closed door is making space for something greater. The universe is always working on our behalf, aligning everything for our highest good. The question is not whether things will happen, but whether we are willing to surrender and trust the timing. True surrender does not mean giving up. It means stepping into a higher level of trust, a deeper connection with the divine, and a greater alignment with the flow of life. It is not about passivity or inaction, but about releasing the need to control every outcome and allowing things to unfold as they are meant to. So many people associate surrender with weakness, with a lack of ambition, with simply resigning to fate. But in reality, surrender is the most powerful state one can be in because it places you in direct harmony with the intelligence of the universe. Every struggle in life comes from resistance. We resist what is happening. We resist the unknown. We resist what we cannot understand. Resistance creates tension, stress, and anxiety because it is the mind's way of fighting against what is. But when we surrender, we move into a space of allowing. We begin to trust that life is always working for us, even when we do not understand how. The fear of the unknown, the need to control, the constant questioning. These things do not bring us peace. They only keep us trapped in a cycle of worry and doubt. Surrender is an act of faith. It is the willingness to release the need to micromanage every aspect of life and instead trust that there is a force greater than us guiding the way. It does not mean that we stop taking action, that we stop striving for excellence, or that we simply wait for things to happen. It means that we act from a place of trust rather than fear. It means we do what we can, and then we let go of the outcome. When we surrender, we are no longer forcing. We are no longer trying to manipulate circumstances. We are simply allowing life to unfold in its own perfect way. The reason so many people struggle with surrender is because the mind seeks certainty. The mind wants to know exactly what will happen and when. It wants control because it equates control with safety. But the greatest irony is that true security is found in surrender, not in control. The more we try to control everything, the more we realize that control is an illusion. We cannot control other people. We cannot control every event. We cannot predict the future with certainty, but we can control our level of trust, our response to life, and our willingness to let go of fear. When we surrender, we move from force to flow. Instead of constantly pushing, chasing, and struggling, we begin to recognize that things come to us when we are ready. We start to see that what is truly meant for us does not require manipulation or desperation. We start to understand that everything happens at the right time, in the right way, and for the right reasons. Instead of exhausting ourselves trying to make everything happen on our terms, we start aligning with the natural rhythm of life. One of the most beautiful aspects of surrender is the peace that it brings. When we stop resisting, we stop suffering. We stop battling against reality and instead embrace what is. We find a sense of calm that was always available, but was blocked by our attachment to control. We begin to see that we do not have to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. We begin to trust that there is a divine intelligence at work, orchestrating things in a way that is far greater than anything we could have planned. Surrender allows us to see life from a new perspective. Instead of seeing obstacles as problems, we see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of viewing delays as setbacks, we recognize them as moments of preparation. Instead of feeling defeated when things do not go our way, we trust that something better is unfolding. When we surrender, we move from a place of struggle to a place of ease. We begin to experience life as it is meant to be, filled with synchronicity, with effortless manifestations, with unexpected blessings. The greatest breakthroughs often come after surrender. So many times we hold on too tightly to what we think we want, not realizing that something far greater is waiting for us once we let go. We cling to relationships, jobs, situations that no longer serve us because we are afraid of what will happen if we release them. But the moment we surrender, we create space for something new. We open ourselves up to receive what is truly meant for us rather than what we are trying to force. Letting go is not always easy. The mind will resist, the ego will fight back, fear will try to convince us that if we do not control everything, everything will fall apart. But the opposite is true. The moment we stop clenching, stop grasping, stop holding on so tightly, we find freedom. We realize that life has been waiting for us to surrender all along. We realize that the peace, the joy, the fulfillment we have been seeking is not found in controlling everything, but in trusting that we are always being guided